Hello, my name's Charlie Winston, and this is my podcast called As We Are, which is inspired by my most recent album, As I Am. It's discussions with people who interest me and inspire me. Some of those people you may know, but others you may never have heard of. But that's not the point, you see, because I'm simply interested in people. So, without further ado, I shall let you discover this episode. Take me as I am. The following conversation is with an old friend of mine called Wayne Ellington. We met in the 90s when we went to the same university, and we came from very different backgrounds. I grew up in the countryside of England, very white area, and he grew up in London in a black gospel church community. And we were both very attracted to each other's life up until that point and our outlooks on life. But one thing we shared was a general curiosity in people and things, and that's what sparked our relationship, and as well as the interest in music. He's an incredible singer. He has always amazed me with his singing abilities. He's arranged for many artists. He's sang for many choirs, as well as led many choirs. He's now what he calls himself a singing therapist, which we shall talk about. And finally, something about Wayne which has always struck me is his ability to communicate with a calm demeanour, sometimes humorous, but he's always got something poignant to say, and it's never pretentious or intrusive. It's just very much him. So here is my conversation with Wayne Ellington. I hope you enjoy. Hey Wayne.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good.
Okay, so you are an old friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
We're old friends. We first met in the West London Institute, which then became Brunel University in 1995, I think.
Yeah.
Or at least that's when I went there.
Yeah.
But just to introduce you, you have always been a singer. It's always been your primary thing, and it's always. But you've gone through being a singer for yourself, to being singer in choirs, to being singer, helping other people sing, helping put other people's bands and choirs together, and now you find yourself in a place where you're teaching singing, but you're not calling you're not calling yourself a singing teacher. You're calling yourself a singing therapist. Why do you do that?
A vocal coach is one who can look at various tools on how a singer might sing a song. They can also look at speech. Someone who is about to do a speech, or about to look at motivational speaking and such, and how to preserve your voice and so on. Why a singing therapist is mainly about introducing awareness, singing awareness, to the singer, which touches on the response to music itself, to response to their own voice, to their own singing abilities, being comfortable when they hear other singers doing extraordinary vocal things or singy things, so that they might not feel, or they might not be able to do. However, it's about teaching that individual to be comfortable with what they can do and work on some of the things that they want to aspire to do. Get better at singing. But the journey to get better at singing is about consistency, and is about awareness, is about self-awareness, and it's about the awareness of your musicians, other singers that might be around you, studying your audience, studying the auditorium, the area that people are coming from or coming to see you or to hear you. Even if you're a background vocalist, you're still needing to be aware of some of these things, even though the focus will be on the artists, and you as a backing singer might be feeling nervous because you might not know a particular part, or you might have forgotten something, being a background vocalist, and the main artist is relying on you to do your job. So practicing, being aware of your singing parts, blending as well, doing
blending voice,
blending your voice with other singers and also with the artist and so on. So it covers a lot of different things that I feel that are not spoken about as vocal coaches, but vocal coaches might not need to be speaking about awareness, because that's not what the vocal coach's role is.
Awareness.
The vocal coach is to give tools and vocal tools, singing tools like
vocal theory. You
vocal,
mean
vocal theories, exercises, vocal exercises. Oh my gosh,
you got yourself there.
Vocal exercises. Whereas a singing therapist's main focus is about awareness and how to navigate a vocalist, not just through a song but through life as a singer.
So I'm wondering, like, do people walk in to your, like, for the first time, do you see like anxiety and worry? Singing is I know it as I'm a singer, it's a very personal thing. It's one of the first things we do when we come out of when we're born. We kind of sing, we cry. And so it's the first means of expression. So it's the first way to express yourself. Before being an artist, you don't do that when you come out of the womb. No. So, but there's also, it's very, very attached to emotions, as music is very attached to emotions. And there's a song on my album called "Don't Worry About Me," and it's quite kind of questioning what worry is. And I'm interested about the kind of worries that you see or that you have. That you see people have when they
the things that I used to worry about were about stories that weren't even happening. So I'd be worrying about something that I think could happen or something that I don't want to happen, rather than just being present and not focus on worry. These are some of the things that I was able to navigate myself away from, the things like being overly concerned about what my voice might be like, if people are going to like me or not, if people are going to, or if I'm going to do an off key, is the song going to go well? Am I going to remember my words? Have I got the right outfit on?
Yeah.
I've forgotten my shoes. What am I going to do in the next 30 minutes or in the next, do you know what I mean? All these things can become worries. However, they've not happened. On explaining some of these ideas to my students about something that's not happened yet, so therefore we don't need to bring energy to something that's not even occurred, then we can bring our focus somewhere else. That often tends to be the way I'd navigate them towards. From that point, the questions would be about tell me, what are you most excited about this event that you're about to do, or this recital that you're about to give, or this song that you found that you want to sing? What's exciting about it? So
getting them to focus in on the good stuff, as opposed to the potential nightmare it could be.
Exactly. Yeah. So worry is there to show up. It is there for us to kind of like reorder our mindset, rewire our mindset, and reinvent our mindset. And reinventing our mindset is reinventing yourself. So therefore, you're not going to be that of what you were a second ago.
Before you go on stage, someone goes on stage, what's the primary thing that you say to yourself? I know from myself, I would say, like, it's like a little switch I turn on in my head. It's like, okay, I've just got to have a moment of connecting with myself mentally. I'm just going, okay, who's the person you want to present in this moment? We talked a little bit about it last night, but what's the main thing for you that you say to yourself or ask yourself?
The main thing, some of the main things that would go through my mind are, I hope that people enjoy what I'm about to do, and then I bring the focus back to self, because it is about what I do. Whatever I do, whatever I say, however I am, is going to affect the people that have come to see me or listen to me or whichever. So therefore, I make sure that I'm good in my mind, I'm good in my body, and I feel ready. And that takes much preparation. And these are some of the things, in case the audience who are listening didn't know, these are some of the things that you're paying for.
Yeah, right.
You're paying for someone who's working hard behind the scenes to come in front of you and do a whole concert, or even to sing one song, but to entertain you for that whole time. So they've put all that work in. So to get to the point before you go on stage, it's about how you manage all those thoughts. Self-management is really key for me, and bringing my energy towards my breathing.
So do you think that there's it reminds me of some other tunes from my record. One is called Overprotective, and it's just about, well, I'm actually criticizing someone for being overprotective in their behavior, only to realize that by me trying to fix them is being overprotective about them. But I know that we can do that for ourselves as singers as well, where we can, especially like if I've had laryngitis or something like that, or some funny little pain in my throat, and then all your focus, because you're on tour, goes onto that one thing, and then that just blows it up and gets worse. It's a kind of paradox that we live in as a singer. It's kind of, because the more that you have to focus on yourself as a singer, but you're focusing on yourself as a entity, as a being. And so it plays into another song which is called I'll Never Hold You Back, where you can hold other people back by holding yourself back as well, and you certainly hold back what you're giving to the audience. Do you find that you've kind of been in situations, well, there's always, because you're coming from two places, one is as a singer and one as a vocal therapist. So what is it that, how does it play into, do you see that a lot, is what I mean?
I think I can be overprotective of my students, and I want to give them the best tools that I can give. How they take that and how they utilize it will depend on how it's presented to them, and that also goes down to relationship. Building a relationship with your students. Building a relationship with your students can turn into you being overprotective, because it's almost like training a child. You don't want the child to touch the fire, you don't want the child to hurt themselves, you don't want the child to do anything wrong. You want the child to be good, and you want the child to be right and safe. And that's fine, but when you go into overprotective mode, can be a bit much for the child. It could be suffocating for the child. Let the child or the student make mistakes, and help them to help themselves navigate their way out of that mistake. But you also just let them know, look, I'm still here. I gave you an advice and an instruction to avoid certain things, but you made a decision out of the choices that you had to.
Give me an example.
So, for example, one of my students who I would give them an idea of creating melody. They don't know how to create melody, so I'll give them ideas. That's tools. Giving them tools on how to create, come up with ideas. And one of those ideas towards creating melody is to not think about it, but to listen, use your intuition to hear what comes to you. Just sing whatever comes to you. So if there's a chord progression, most people automatically go to the melody or the tune of that chord progression, rather than sing around it. My thoughts and idea would be sing around that. They may decide and choose to sing the tune. Do you know what I mean? The tune's already set. So
that's the comfortable place.
That's the comfortable place.
So often the less confidence they have, the more they'll stick with the melody.
But then you'll have some students who will be a bit more ambitious and sing a third above or a third below, or sing something completely unexpected. It might work with the chord progression and it might not. But the idea was that they went ahead and gave it a try. That could have been a mistake. It could have been a right melody that they sang. Do you know what I mean? But you allow them to make those.
So that reminds me, I should probably mention at this point that you did The Voice. So you just tried it out. You decided for yourself as a a gentleman in
Mhm.
your age
Mhm.
to give it a shot
Yeah.
and go on the UK Voice, and you got chosen by Tom, and
Other way around.
you
You choose who you want.
You
you choose your coach.
Yeah, because him
Yeah.
and Jessica, is it Jessica?
No, Jennifer.
Jennifer, that's
Hudson.
it.
Yeah.
They both chose you, but then you had to choose, so
That's
you chose
right.
Tom.
Yeah.
So, but I've always wondered about the voice model, how we, I see people on there training for one song, and like we were talking about last night, if you're always working on just one thing, there must be a lot more anxiety involved in getting it right or wrong. Whereas when I grew up playing music, we were just jamming stuff out, playing songs and all kinds of different music. Of course, I'm sure all those people do. That's what we all do as musicians. But it feels to me like there's through the notoriety of the voice, the sort of the success of the voice being in every single country, and more people, that's their platform for being noticed. I kind of I wonder how it must change people's vision of what it is to be a good musician or prepare for something.
I think my experience about the voice was combating some of my own fears, which were to be in front of a TV screen as a singer, because they come quite close up, and I was already a little bit apprehensive about my big features being on TV, and I just didn't, but I had to learn very quickly and just overcome that. And I thought, well, love yourself. Because you love everything else about yourself, but love these parts about yourself. And I thought, well, okay, that's one thing. The other thing was...
That's a big one.
That was a big one.
But that is always a big one, loving yourself. I mean, just in life. But especially, I think that's the thing about being a singer on stage in a particular moment.
One of them. There was no problems about how I sang the song or what song I was going to sing, because I was comfortable with that. The other elements were that you're in a competition, and I thought, I don't like competitions. Again, the fear of that came out of being the age of 13, entering a competition to which I came last, and I thought, never doing it again, ever. But then I thought, well, there's an opportunity to come back and do something great for yourself, and in hope that everyone else is going to enjoy what you do. So all of these different things that might want to come crush you, you look at them at a different point in your life and feel and think to yourself, well, now I'm at a different place now. I'm not 13 years old again. I'm okay with my looks. I love my nose. It's part of my mum and dad's. I love my lips. Again, it's part of my mum and dad's. I love my ears. All my facial features are part of my mum and dad. And that's how I began to embrace those. I felt TV ready. My voice, like I said, my brother Lloyd calls me the voice. Anyway, this was from a young age. And so for me to do it, do the program, was a joyful thing for him to know. So I saw him when he was watching you. Yeah, it's great. So doing it, I felt ready, but there was also the maturity that came behind it all. Yes, it's a TV show. Yes, it's a competition. And yes, it's a frightening experience. However, the mature side of me kind of kicked in. You're a big man. You're not competing with anybody, really. You're here to present a song because you want your sound left in the world somewhere. And everybody often talks about that show of my singing, and I've been singing for years.
I know.
Big men would see me on the street and they'd say, man, I cried when I heard your song, I cried. And these are big men. So I can leave the planet, not too soon, knowing that I've left my sound out there, and I've left not just my sound, but an energy out there that has affected somebody.
But it's interesting because so that's you at your age, but then you're probably doing those auditions surrounded by tons of kids who've grown up, as post millenniums, and they're growing up with auto-tune, They're growing up in social media land.
Mm-hmm.
They're growing up with an entirely different way to consume music, and it's all about how the internet and algorithms surround us, and how algorithms play into our lives now with the social media, the way that we can just, if we want to hear a tune, we can hear it in a second. If we want to make a tune and put it out there, we can do it in a second. And then also the age thing as well.
Yeah.
Just generally whichever part of the century we're in, or evolution of man, we grow and we learn. But like, what did you see those other kids, and what do you see as a vocal therapist, as singing therapist? Sorry.
Yeah. So, coming from, I mean, I'm a 70s child, 70s person.
I'm a 70s child.
And growing up listening to lots of different vocal sounds, tones, in the 80s, a different set of vocal tones, and in the 90s, a new eruption of vocal tones. In the 70s, R&B wasn't the same sounds, vocal sounds, as it was in the 90s. Soul music changed in the 70s from the 50s and 60s. And then gospel music changed from the early 30s to a different sound in the 80s. Yeah, you know, so you've got decades of different sounds going on.
Changes.
Do you know what I mean? Massive changes. So being brought up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s around these different genres and vocal tones and music styles and genres, you're collecting a massive plethora of sounds and music. And that's not just from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but during those decades, you're also introduced to the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s style. So you've got this humongous.
And now everything's archived.
Right.
As well.
Everything's archived.
It's not like in the 50s where you had like nothing. Yeah. It was just passed on by the last generation.
Okay.
Maybe you've got a... Yeah.
So therefore, from the 90s, from the late 90s, and then things began to change with, or going into the 2000s with more algorithms and more media stuff.
There was like Pro Tools introduced, and Logic, and
when we were at uni, we were like using Cubase,
and then auto-tune kicks in.
Right. So with the auto-tune thing now, and not just with the auto-tune, with the different with the styles of the singer-songwriter styles these days. Our young people from 2000s have become those styles, which is very minimal.
Yeah.
And so for myself, when I'm hearing my first student, second student, third student, up until day 2 students, which may be 7 of them, 2 days of hearing the same vocal tones, 2 days of hearing the same vocal styles.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? This is a result of what's out there and a result of what's impacting these young people.
Which is kind of crazy when you think about the amount of stuff that's out there now.
Exactly. So they might feel like writing lyrics is, it's great, which it is. Some of them are brilliant, superb lyricists, however, the music style is very much the same.
Yeah.
Which is why I like the songs from your album, because there's lots of different things going on. It's like a 10-course meal. Do you know what I mean? There's lots of different things.
And maybe too heavy for a lot of people, in the way that I've got a sneeze coming on, but in the way that people's listening, because we don't just change the way we produce music, we change the way we listen to it as average people. And sometimes I think to myself, maybe it's just a bit too rich for people these days, And I think there's a truth to that, but then it's capturing the right kind of people.
Yeah. Capturing the right kind of people is about giving them a little bit of everything, So you give them a little bit of something that you feel that they might like of the past, the present, and when I say the future, I'm talking about the present.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the past.
Yeah, I've got a song about that.
Yeah.
That's from my future self.
Right. So when we're looking at creativity and the creation of new music. We not only do we, or should we, need to go back to the past, but some of the technology that's around now, like I was about to say vocal zones, vocal zones, like the pitch perfect, auto tuning, and so on. The way we can continue to keep some of the old school way of listening to music live is for us as singers and musicians to continue to teach how not to use an auto tune, you know, and that's like a fast track way. And even though I think auto tuning is kind of training people to listen to music in a different way, in a technological way rather than in an emotional way, you know, that flat note or that non-perfect pitch bit could be part of someone's personality, but
that's
they're
it.
still...
So it's also an element of self-acceptance.
Yeah. Self-acceptance and also audience acceptance.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
When I sing, I'm not always in key, but I do know... Not in key, sorry. I go flat at sometimes, pitch-wise.
Yeah. I'm going to go to G-sharp minor.
But what I do know, one of the things that keeps my audience intact and in tune with me is my character, my tone, the way that I make them feel during a song. If I do a flat note, they don't care too much. They'll notice it, no doubt. You know. However, my comeback is always, I'm going to give you something that.
But you know what? I think. Sorry to interrupt, but I think it's also about the fact that we live, when we grew up in a generation of. I'm not going to say it like that. I'm just going to say now, because everyone can record at home. Yeah. It's a world of home recordings, and therefore you don't have to go out and do gigs to be a musician or to make music. You can sell it on YouTube and actually build up a big enough audience to just... You can do it that way, or Bandcamp or something like that. But so they'll create that kind of big comfort zone through making music at home, but then you get out on stage, it's a different story. It's a different... whole other ball game from between live and recorded music. But you know... So in terms of in terms of live music, like there's a song of mine called "This Storm Too Shall Pass," and it reminds me in this moment when I had a gig in Switzerland in a festival called Paleo Festival. I was on stage I was coming on stage after Joan Baez. Patti Smith was on a different stage, and Robert Plant was after me. So it was pretty kind of like asking myself, what am I doing on the stage? There was 35,000 people in the audience, and I had laryngitis. I had something itis in my throat. I couldn't speak or certainly not sing. And having cancelled a gig several months before that in Paris for the same problem, I decided not to worry about it, and I did actually take some cortisone, because I was like, I can't let these people down. There's too many people here, and it was really. On the previous gig, I decided not to take cortisone, and I literally could not sing a note, and I had to cancel the thing. Anyway, long story, just to say that when I went on stage, I'd taken the cortisone with enough time for it to kick in, do its thing. When I got on stage, it didn't work, and I was literally singing on a shoelace, you know, just trying to, just wondering, and got into real like, I mean, not just me, but my band, they're all looking at me like, you're gonna be okay. And then side of stage, my manager and agent were like, you know, looking pretty worried, because it wasn't happening. I wasn't coming up with the goods, and it's like a sea of people in front of me. And so I was, for the first time in my life, thinking, I'm going to have to cancel. I'm going to have to walk off stage. Like, I can't get to the end of this. I've got an hour and a quarter to sing, and it's just not happening. And so and this was, you know, a storm. Like, it was a mental storm in my head of kind of panic of should I do that? Should I actually do this for the first time in my life on such a big stage? And And the fifth song, I said to myself, if it doesn't come back on this song, I'm going to do it. I'm going to pull it. And there was a song where I didn't have a guitar or a piano. I just had the microphone, wireless microphone. So it somehow totally freed up my body, or something happened, and the drugs kicked in, as it were, and my voice came back, and I finished the show still with a massively reduced range, but able to get through it. And so all of that to say, like, now when these things happen more and more that I experience live music, I understand that when I'm facing a storm cloud and it's coming towards me, or if I'm in the middle of it, I'm kind of telling myself it will pass. Not just in music, but in life as well. Understanding that this storm too shall pass. And you're obviously managing a lot of that. But I mean, what kind of experiences have you had in your life as a musician, or personally, like in terms of like the storms you've had to face?
My storms have been really challenging. Well, obviously, let me start that again. You might have to edit this bit.
Since you said that, I'm definitely not editing it.
Storms have been challenging. What the hell? Yeah, there's levels of storms. Now, from being a young age, I think I had a really nice childhood, really good childhood, and the uncertainties of knowing or discovering a bit more of myself was, I guess, around school age, secondary school age, from around 11. Aware of how I was feeling around 6 and 7 years old, or even to 10 years old, being aware of, oh, my name's Wayne, my brothers and sisters, my parents' names and friends and cousins and so on. The storms actually began to show up around age 11, and that was around sexuality, that was around being in faith, being or not feeling a whole human being, because there were different things that you were hearing about how to be as a human being, and genders and choices that you make in life and so on. So, and you get to school and you're challenged with, you went to an old boys' school, and you're challenged with bravado, you're challenged with testosterone and and everything, and you're coming from primary school into secondary school, and you're hit with all of this stuff. I found a really lovely shell to just hibernate in.
I understand that very well.
Yeah,
and music can do that.
And not feeling a part of being in school and being a part of the school community, because I wasn't as bright and I wasn't as loud and I wasn't as anything as all the other boys in the school. I just kept myself in a shell, because it was the right place to be and the safest place to be for me at the time, because no one taught you to understand what it's like being around another community. In church, you feel comfortable in church, because church for you just meant music, really. Music and faith.
Oh, really? Is that what it meant to you as a kid?
Yeah, as a kid, it was music and faith. So from the age I even remember walking in church. I can vividly remember walking into church at 4 years old.
Really?
Holding my mum's hand.
Oh, that's so
feeling
young.
Really small, but hearing this big volume, this loud volume of voices and music, which was like a gospel version of country western from a Caribbean, Caribbean perspective, which was almost reggae, but a cross between reggae and country western,
Wow. I've heard that country and western's big in Jamaica, actually.
Yeah. And it was around those times that I felt easy, being 4 years old and just being massively impacted by this great tapestry of sounds. You know, that you become so emotionally connected with.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so that was my safe place. So being in school and being hit by testosterone and masculinism and all sorts,
and having to sort of play into it.
And how do you play into it, and how do you respond to it? And if you
Yeah.
respond to it as you know it and it ain't right.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a lot of competition, a lot of bravado.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's like, it's funny, you know, when you talk about the safe place, for me that's Exile. That's what my song Exile is talking about like through certain kind of discomfort that I found as a child, as growing up in this world. Sometimes the world doesn't feel, and I'm sure so many people go through this, but it doesn't feel like you belong in that, or you don't know how to fit yourself into it. Yeah. And for me, it was a kind of exiling myself from that through music, and kind of going, or not even thinking it through, not even consciously thinking about it, but finding that place in music as like a cloud that you can go to and disappear. But is it like, for me, I'm now learning what purpose that served, and how in some ways it's no longer serving me anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I kind of now for me, music it's like I can choose it, but it's not like a compulsion that I have to do it all the time, because I actually want to be in reality as well. I want to come to accepting what is, who I am, because I think sometimes music is an escape route as well. Does that ring true for you?
I mean, like, that kind of like ties in with the question about storm, being in a storm, being in a whirlwind. And, whilst you're in this storm, you can actually find a safe place where you can exile, you know, and to navigate yourself away from the storm, even though you can see it from a far distance. The sensation, the feeling of it getting close, kind of like, or the wind of it, shifts you towards exile. You know, shifts you to that quiet place where you can feel safe. In church, you'd often hear about the story of an eagle. I can't remember where in the Bible it's from, but I do believe it's one of the Psalms, and it's those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. Will renew their strength. They will rise up on wings like eagles. They'll run and not weary. They'll walk and not faint. Those words stuck in my head.
They'll run like...
They'll walk and not get weary.
Okay.
They'll run and not get weary.
Yeah.
They'll walk and not faint.
They'll walk and not faint. Okay.
Yeah. So rising up on wings as eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah. An eagle can fly. When an eagle sense that there's a storm coming, they fly to the highest point of the mountain.
Yeah, right.
They don't get caught in storms.
Like a cow sits down on the grass to protect its dry grass when there's
So when that storm comes, that eagle's in a safe place because it's above clouds.
So it's a natural instinct, isn't it, for us to...
Right.
It's true.
To go to a safe place.
To protect.
Right, exactly. So when that storm comes, that eagle doesn't know what's going underneath them clouds.
Yeah, right.
Even though you might know what the issues are, blah, 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 you find yourself in a safe place, but you don't know what you're being protected from.
Yeah.
Because you found a safe place to go to.
So I've got to say, like, that reminds me of, like, I discovered, like, for years I had chronic backache, as you know, and I did everything to figure out the solution via all physical means, only to discover years too late, not too late, but eventually discover it was all starting from my mind and how I perceived the world, basically. Yep. It was all, I'm good. It was all about my subconscious and how that's behaving without me knowing it at all. And it reminds me of what you're talking about, the eagle and the storm below the clouds. It's like I've had to go in below those clouds. And that's what much of my album's about. Go into the unconscious, as one of the songs is called, and actually, like, I don't know, not fight it, but understand it. Just understand it. It's not like I'm trying to even fix it.
But you see, at the time that you went beneath the clouds, you were strong enough to go beneath the clouds.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
we need to get to that point
Yes.
first.
Yeah, absolutely. So you recognize something's going on in my life and I don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
However, you are supposed to go to a safe place just so that you can rise up on wings as eagles. You'll run and not weary, you'll walk and not faint. It's all about being strong. Yeah. Wings, so eagles' wings are humongous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see them too.
Yeah.
When they're flying above.
Right. And
Whistling.
when you bring yourself into that mindset of strength, you are then able to fly beneath.
It's true.
You know,
It's true. And
the
you got
clouds and
that's very true.
see what's going on. And that way,
Yeah.
some folks don't want to go beneath the clouds.
Yeah.
My encouragement would be to, when you feel in your at a particular time and age, when you feel strong enough, you would have had to do some background work before you go down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
No doubt. I don't know if this is a good thing to bring up, but let's just
Look holistically,
yeah. About when anyone's going into war, they will have people that will go into those countries and navigate and see what's going on and blah blah blah. They'll have people that might just fly over just to spot the land and see where things are placed and so on. Yeah, so we have to, and that's dangerous territory. You know, because anything and anyone can spot you if you're not careful. So therefore, we have to go into some of those places that we don't really want to go to, and just to navigate some of these spots. It's quite emotional.
Yeah, it's emotional.
You know?
It's very uncomfortable to get there.
Yeah, the uncomfortability though, you must know that you're supported and guided by a higher being, a higher power. For me, that would be God.
Yeah.
You know, to help me to get in and get out. You know, once I'm in, you're in. You know, and therefore you need to stay there and begin to break down, break up, in order to get some kind of breakthrough.
Yeah, right.
You know?
That's it. Yeah.
So once you've broken through, you're then broken beneath all that concrete, those layers of concrete, where the heart of yourself is, that the soul of you lays beneath.
Yeah.
And once you've broken through all of that, you can just see, and you think, right, this is where the heart of myself is. And this is what, you know, I really look like. And I look great. I look great and I feel great because this is the heart of me.
That's it,
and
man.
you've got to bring the heart of you back to surface, but it's not going to be so easy.
That's the hard part. Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Because then you're representing who you really are.
Yeah.
With your shadows.
Right.
To the
surface.
To the surface.
And to everyone.
Yeah. And not always people want to see that either. It's not just about us.
No.
It's about.
Yeah. But also though, Charlie, it is about you in a big way. It's about you in a big way, because it's almost like there's the story of Jesus when he died, and you know, it's the story when he died and he went down to hell to get the keys of hell, and then, you know, and came back up alive again and so on. There's that. If you look at that kind of scenario of you going back down to yourself to find yourself, and you coming back, but when you come back, you've come back. You've proper reinvented.
Yeah.
Nothing else that anyone can say can tear you down.
Yeah.
Because you've come back with some keys.
Yeah.
And the key to yourself.
That's it. Do
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So as you come back, trust me, I knew that the dark spell that I went through when I came out, the minute you put me on stage to sing something.
You're talking about in later life, not as a
later
kid.
life. Yeah. Later life. It's like early this year.
Right, yeah.
Put me on stage to sing something. This is coming out of the pandemic and losing my brother and so on, which was really dark.
Yeah.
Go on stage to sing something, and the sound that came back at me was like presenting yourself back to yourself.
Yeah.
But then not only are you presenting yourself back to yourself, there's nothing egotistical about that, but because you're still kind of nervous to sing now, However, you know, you just got to crack on with it. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
But then you're aware of your audience. You're
Yeah.
aware that the audience are sat waiting for something.
Tell us that's just a little anecdote about your friend Karen, and when you had that moment,
Yeah.
and you told me you had that moment, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
needed some help
Right.
from her, right?
Yeah.
If I
so,
may.
Yeah, sure,
mention
that's
her
fine.
name.
Yeah. So that song, well, Karen's been a very influential person in my life, and very inspiring woman. So anyway, I learned so much from her. She's a don't mess around woman.
Yeah.
And very to the point. She's still very much like that in a beautiful way, where she'll give you time now to just get yourself together. So during the Kingdom Choir concert at the Roundhouse in January, there's a song that the choir wrote called Together Again, and it was about everyone coming back together again after the pandemic. And
Right.
and so it was challenging for me to sing it because we weren't all together again,
Yeah.
because I'd lost my brother.
Yeah.
So to sing that song was
Really.
challenging.
You were up against
man.
the wall.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So the words weren't coming during soundcheck. Words weren't coming to me, and so I had to. Well, I told
you
Karen.
mean you couldn't remember the words?
I couldn't remember the words. I couldn't remember the first line,
Right.
but then the second line after
Happens
that
to
just
me
wasn't
often.
coming. Yeah. So when the soundcheck started for that song, I had the mic in my hand and I went to the front of the stage, and the words didn't come at all. We had about 2-3 attempts at it, and I said to Karen, this ain't working. So I asked another colleague, another choir singer friend, to do the song, and he's like, no, well, I'll be prepared to do it, but I don't know if Karen wants me to do this song. She wants you to do it.
Okay.
So I was like, anyway, long story short, that song didn't happen during soundcheck, and I was feeling a bit, disappointed. Karen then said to me, okay, remember, this isn't about you. This is not about you, so get out of your head.
Get out of your head.
Get out of your head, and remember who this is
Hard
for.
words.
Hard words.
When for someone who's just lost their brother.
Yeah. But you see, the way she said it, it wasn't like
it was supportive.
It was more. It was more supportive. So even though,
I'm not saying she's a hard.
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
nasty thing to say. I mean, hard words, but true words.
Yeah, true words, said in a very delicate way.
Right.
But then it was for me to then go away and do something with that.
Yeah.
So I hibernated for a little while.
Yeah.
For about 15. Excuse me. I hibernated for a while, for about 15 minutes or so, and got out of my head. I had to put Dennis aside and go over the words and be thankful and grateful for who was there.
Yeah.
And I had this little story in my head, sang the song through in my mind, and I thought, well, that's cool, leave it alone. Went and had lunch, dinner, came back, show had started, time for that song. As nervous as I was, I thought, I always tell everyone, recognize nervousness, give nervousness its recognition, but don't give it any energy.
Yeah.
So then I walked towards the stage, mic in hand, and there I was. The words just came to me line by line, word for word, note for note, just came to me. After I got through the first and second verse, we go into the main part of the chorus. Something in me just lifted, and I heard my sound, and I thought, this sound is indescribable, but it made me feel like I was that eagle. I had gone down beneath the clouds,
Right.
picked up these keys,
And you're
come
on your
back,
way up again.
and I was on my way up again, But this time on my way up, I weren't going through clouds. I was just
the storm
soaring.
passed.
Right.
Actually, my song "This Storm Too Shall Pass." It's actually a biblical
Right.
thing. I've just realised it. It's "This Storm Shall Pass," isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, not "This Storm Too Shall Pass."
There is so many ways to say it.
Yeah, but I think
the
I heard it
idea is
originally
the storm
as-
will pass. Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, thank you for. I mean, there's some pretty personal and deep stuff that you just shared, and I really, really appreciate that. And like, as the final question is related to the song we mentioned earlier on, Letter from My Future Self. I've written many letters to myself, posted them, got them, opened them, kept them on my desk, and, you know, as a reminder of the things that I want to keep close to me. And then I wrote the song, and it was a hard song to write, trying to imagine what me at 85-ish years old would say to the present day me now. I won't tell you how I got there, but what would you say? What will you say to yourself now?
I'm glad this is recorded, because this is part of, I believe, my 80-year-old self would tell me now, and it would be to remember the fruits of your spirit, which are love, joy, peace, long-suffering, goodness, faith, humility, and temperance. And all those things, use those tools to navigate your way through life. No need to fight with worry. No need to argue with anxiety. No need to stress about what I don't know. But be open to the things that come to you. Be kind to yourself and to others. And these are some of the things that will attract some of the things that you want or that you need to happen for you for tomorrow. So stay winning.
Stay
winning.
Winning.
Which is a quote, I must say. There's no doubt he'll hear this. A dear friend of mine called Jazz Rose.
Nice name. I love that name.
Yeah.
Jazz Rose. Wow.
Incredible guy. Who often says, stay winning.
Yeah.
And that's stayed with me ever since he told me to stay winning. And so, you know, that's what my 80-year-old letter would include right at the end. Hashtag stay winning.
That's a good place to end it. But before we end it, I want to know, because we're talking about a letter from your future self, okay, to now. So you're working on those things now. Those things, we're always working on things. Reality flows. It's never standstill. It's never fixed. So that's taking that into account, that that this is all stuff you're still working on. But yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful thing that you said.
Yeah, I'm still working on them, and I think maybe even by the time I'm 80, I may still be working on them.
I hope so.
You know,
them or development of them.
Developments of them. Every decade is a different situation, different circumstance, and one of those things will be worked on more than some of the others.
Exactly.
You know, I feel I'm kind. I feel I'm loving. I feel I'm patient. I feel I'm gentle. But then a lot of those things come into play in particular areas of my life with particular people.
Yeah.
And will also come to a new way of being with people that I haven't met yet.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And so those folks who don't know that side of any of those sides of me will come to know, which will be new for them. But the result would be about me seeing some of these results or hearing it from somebody. Oh, that's so kind. That's so good. Oh, you know?
Cool, Wayne.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Thanks.
It was a good chat.
Yeah. A really good
Thanks
chat.
very much.
Cheers, Charlie.